All right. And here we go. Hey, welcome to the Gear Slum, man. It's your one-stop shop for
Man.
all things guitar culture nonsense,
You
I'm
know.
Aaron.
I'm Phil.
And I'm like, Cole or whatever.
We just kind of slow and hard, so you don't have to and stuff.
and whatnot. Welcome to the Gear Slum, man. Way too casual, Aaron.
Was it and stuff? I'm trying to think of like what people used to say a lot. I think maybe they did say and stuff a lot, like back in my time.
No, Aaron. No one said that.
No and stuff. Oh.
I mean, somebody did.
And the like.
I say and whatnot.
And such as.
Too much.
And such as.
And like as. What's the thing that the girl, remember the beauty pageant girl that.
That's what he's saying.
Yeah, and such as.
And such as.
The Iraq.
Is it and such as? Oh, dude. The Iraq.
Like the Iraq and such as.
That's like, okay, it's Ukraine, right? It's not the Ukraine, but
Correct.
cut some people some slack if they call it the Ukraine. Like that's what.
Yeah, I mean, like
a lot of us called it our whole lives.
Hey, don't call it that anymore.
Like I Googled it.
I think that's what makes me like extra annoyed about it is that it was recently, like it was a recent change.
Yeah.
So like to be the person who's like it's not the Ukraine.
Exactly.
Like, you guys.
It's like you said LGBT, but you didn't add the QIA or you didn't add the plus, and it's like, well, I'm trying, dude. Like my data is outdated.
My data plan is
Kiev, and it's Kiev.
Kiev.
It's
no,
Kiev.
No, it's not.
That's what I heard.
No, you heard wrong. It's Kiev.
Kiev.
Either way, I think the point of it is it's not Kiev because that's like the Russian pronunciation, right?
And you also spell it with a Y now.
Yeah, it's Kyiv.
Yeah.
I already knew that because there's a temple there.
So,
and actually, we have been trying to go there for a while, and because we have an upgrade that we have to do there, and now we probably won't be able to go there for another while.
Well, man, what a mess.
It's been pretty hard on all of us. Most of all, me.
Yeah. And Disney, apparently.
What?
Disney music. You didn't see that? There's like an email floating around that.
Oh no.
Some guy from Disney sent out, like, and they were like, "This has been really hard for us." Because we had recently something like they recently. Oh, he was talking about like how. They had just translated all the songs from Encanto into Russian and Ukrainian, and now they weren't going to be able to like get the royalties from that. So they were like sending an email out to like the record label and other people like, "Hey, like this sucks for us, so don't expect to like get royalties out of this right now or whatever."
Dude, can you imagine being Disney and thinking that like, hey, well, okay, so Disney wasn't saying that publicly, right?
Apparently it was technically a public email. I don't know.
Dude, that is like brutal. Like, you're freaking Disney, man. You have like infinite money.
Yeah.
Ugh. Not a great look, Disney.
Yeah, it's crazy. Oh, here you go. I found it. So it was reposted by someone called Tech Dirt on a website and on Twitter. He says, he goes, okay, so he says, as you know, between Russia and Ukraine,
is he reading something?
You're breaking up big time. Why is it always like, dang it.
Hear me now?
A little bit.
It doesn't matter.
Okay, now I can hear you. Now that
He
you
says,
don't care
don't
about
expect to get any money from Russia or Ukrainian anytime soon, including reciprocal payments. And he says, this is a big blow to Disney. As this is most apparent with Encanto. All the songs from the movie have been translated and released in Russian and Ukrainian, and we have been noticing quite a lot of UGC uploads on YouTube in both those languages, etc. So, like, basically, we're losing
so they're
a lot
saying
of money because
they're not going to be able to copyright strike all these YouTube videos.
yeah.
Jeez.
And then he says, we hope that UACRR, which is Ukrainian something,
Okay.
will still exist after the outcome of this, as they have been a good partner for us in the past several years.
Yeah, like it's not because we hope they aren't wiped out by nuclear holocaust. It's because they've been a good partner, a business partner for us.
Yeah, we can make money.
Jeez, dude.
Anyway, a lot of people are like,
that is brutal. Talk about being tone deaf, man.
yeah.
Like you're freaking Disney. This has been really hard on us, guys.
And then I've seen people who are like, well, I work in finance, and that's a pretty standard type of email to send out, like, for your shareholders or whatever.
Yeah, they're like covering
okay.
their butts or something. But the tone of it is,
it's like maybe the fact that it is common is the problem.
Is the problem, exactly. It's like this multi-billion-dollar corporation just trying to cover their butts so they don't have to pay people.
And granted, I don't know the ins and outs of any of it, so who am I to comment? But it's funny.
Who are we to comment? We have a freaking podcast, Aaron.
Yeah,
that's who we are.
Yeah, Aaron.
We're middle-aged.
We have a
white
platform.
men.
I have a platform, and I'm going to use it.
That is, yeah, that's pretty rough, though. And I guess it was like not intended for public, but as long as it's like an email going out that isn't completely internal, it might as well be public,
Yeah.
Jeez, freaking Disney. Okay, what did we oh, speaking of Disney, I watched a movie that was not made by Disney, but instead was made by
Warner Brothers, I believe.
Yeah.
Universal. I think it's a Universal.
So Jurassic Park, growing up, we had 2 theaters in my town. One was like the nicer, newer one, and one was kind of older. And all the Jurassic Park movies only ever showed at the older theater, so they must have had some kind of like exclusive deal with them or something like that. But yeah, we watched Jurassic Park 1.
Dude, it's such a good movie. It holds up.
It's really good. Like the special effects hold up because so much of it is like
it's all
practical effects,
or a lot of it.
Yeah, I can't remember. Like it looks like the vast majority of it is practical. Honestly,
I want to say that they probably. I feel like maybe they did like kind of the Star Wars thing and like revamp some of the CGI stuff recently, maybe.
But it was, what did we watch?
I don't know if that's.
We watched it on HBO Max, I think. So it was streaming.
I think it has to do with Spielberg just knowing exactly where the limits were.
Yeah.
Maybe. Of like, okay, this doesn't look good if I do it this way, so I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to cut here. I think like there was one thing I can't remember that the T-Rex. There's a T-Rex scene in the rain. That's like this, freaking iconic scene, right?
Yeah.
I want to say that part of the reason they did it in the rain was because he didn't like the way the skin was looking, and then if it was like, but if we make it look wet, dark then it looks more realistic.
Yeah,
and because it looks so freaking real. It looks so good.
Good. The parts that are like hard, I think, is like when there's like the herds out there. Like, that can't be practical. It has to be CGI.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
So like to make that stuff look good, and not look like it's just like plopped into a landscape or whatever.
But I think like, actually, now that you're saying that, I think like those scenes don't look as good. Like just running in just normal daylight. They don't.
Yeah, maybe. But they're not important because they're not like action scenes or like, they don't really take you out of it. But like
Yeah.
even
Hey,
so, like
don't
even
tell-
like Toy
don't tell me
Story,
about-
when you watch Toy Story, like when it came out, you're like, man, this is like really good animation. And now you're like, you see it and you can see how rough it is. And
Especially
Yeah.
the humans. Well, and Toy
Yeah.
Story was the same way where like, I don't know if they chose it from the start. They definitely benefited from the fact that the toys were all like smooth and shiny and
right,
you know,
right. Yeah,
which is kind of the same thing with T-Rex being wet, I guess.
Yeah,
Even though
that
the
might be
T-Rex
true.
wasn't CGI, but you know what I'm saying.
It was CGI.
parts of it.
Yeah. The kid, it is funny. Okay, so the one thing that is the most striking, which we've talked about before, is like the things that were scary when we were younger just aren't really scary anymore, and it's partially because the effects are so obviously not real.
Hmm.
Like they're really cool, and like you're watching, it's entertaining, you know. But like I remember that scene. Well, that scene in the rain is like the whole scene is iconic. It's they're in the two Jeeps, and the one
Yeah.
Jeep just has the kids in it because the guy runs away and runs to the toilet and then gets eaten off
Yeah,
the
the
toilet
lawyer.
while he's. Yeah, exactly. And then the car gets flipped upside down and the kids are stuck inside of it, and you know
Yeah, Grant goes to save him.
Yeah, exactly. So like the whole thing is like super intense and everything.
And
But
that's when
watching
everyone
with-
gets split up, so you have two storylines to follow.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. But like the the T-Rex just isn't all that scary, or wasn't to my kids.
Hmm.
Because it's you kind of see all the seams and the holes, and
Yeah, interesting.
We watched it with my kid last year, and he was like thoroughly freaked out. Now he
oh
wasn't
really?
like,
And maybe it's an
old.
age.
Yeah.
he wasn't
maybe it's an
bawling his
age
eyes
thing,
out or
too.
anything, but he was like what? Like he was like completely like it was like perfect. It was like not it.
How
he
old is
wasn't
he?
Scared.
He's like 8.
He's 8. He wasn't scared to the point where it's like I feel like a bad parent.
Yeah.
It was like-
it wasn't
Yeah.
harmful for him.
He's having a good time. He's like freaked out, but he's having a good time. It was like that. And
See, I still
it
remember-
was like ideal.
One of the movies that scared my younger son the most was that Minions movie that had the purple guys, Do you remember that? Or the Despicable Me movie that had
Why?
I don't know, but
Why
like
did it scare him?
yeah, I mean it's like cuz they're kind of crazy, right? Like they're kind of freaky guys. But
They're freaky guys.
they're freaky guys.
I haven't seen that one.
Oh, you haven't? Do you know what I'm talking about, Phil?
Yeah, you will, Aaron. All of the movies
No,
that
or
I
maybe
didn't
not.
see.
I won't.
Yes, you will. Listen,
won't.
There's so
All
many
the
movies,
movies.
Phil.
Yeah.
Like
I know, but those
yeah, but
movies like Despicable Me.
I've seen Despicable
Um,
Me.
yeah, but that's like Despicable Me 3 or something. That's like I
Listen,
think there's a good chance you will never see that movie, Aaron.
he will see his kids will see Despicable Me, and then they'll get old enough where they'll be like, "Hey, a sequel is like a movie, but like it's newer, right? Like different things happen." Yes, that's what a sequel is. Oh, well then I want to see a sequel to that one.
No, but like you're forgetting how many things exist now. Like it's not like
I'm saying my son will be like scrolling through Netflix and he'll be like, "Whoa, I'm gonna watch this," and I'm like,
yeah,
damn it.
but that's like a
Okay.
total crapshoot. Like the chances of them stumbling upon this Despicable Me sequel, I think, are pretty slim.
"Okay."
It's not like
All
it's
I
not
know
like Pixar
is-
movies. Like they're gonna watch all the Toy Story movies, right? Obviously, but like
All-
Despicable Me isn't.
All I know
on that
is there
level.
was a whole bunch. There's a bunch of cartoon movies that I did not see before I was a dad, and then like people were like, "Oh, you got to see it," and I'm like, "Yeah, I'm not gonna see it. That's I don't watch cartoon movies." And then 8 years later, here I am watching those movies that people were telling me to watch 10 years ago because
But
Oh,
again,
it's
like
so
even
good, though.
even just in that 10 years, the amount of movies has like skyrocketed, you know.
Kind of slowed down in the last couple of years, but your point is valid.
Oh yeah, because of COVID, Phil. Like
Yeah.
that's such a
So the volume
terrible
isn't
bad
there.
faith argument.
I'm so sorry.
But also, like, part of it is it's no longer like the fact that that movie was popular in the theater is irrelevant because, like you said, your kids are just going to find whatever crap they want to watch on Netflix. So you're really going to end up watching some stupid, like, old episodes of Caillou or something like that instead of a movie that might actually be good, you know?
It's kind of weird the things that like he ends up finding and watching.
Yeah.
Like SpongeBob. I've never said anything about SpongeBob to him. He found it.
But
And
at
he's
least
obsessed with
SpongeBob
it.
is really good. Like
It is
SpongeBob's a
pretty
great show. Like Phineas and
SpongeBob-
Ferb is the
there's-
same way.
That's SpongeBob is a perfect example. I had never seen it before. Never. I don't know how I had never seen it, but I had not.
Because you're old. You were watching like Leave It to
When did-
Beaver
but-
when you were a kid.
when did it come out?
After 2000, right?
Is it like post Ren and Stimpy?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Ren and Stimpy were like the very first edgy cartoons.
It was Beavis and Butthead
It was
and Ren and
Nicktoons.
Stimpy.
Well, Ren and Stimpy, it was Nicktoons. So it was Ren and Stimpy, Rugrats, Doug, you know, Rocko's
Dude,
Modern Life, all those.
It makes me so mad, and I understand why, but it makes me so mad that Ren and Stimpy is in that category with those other cartoons.
Yeah, but Ren and Stimpy, they're the ones who like, because SpongeBob sort of, they kind of borrow that style where they'll like zoom in on something and it's like ultra realistic and gross and everything, you know?
absurdity.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which those other cartoons don't, like they just happen to all be called Nicktoons. But yeah, like Doug is just like it's like a sitcom cartoon, you know?
Doug and Rugrats are just a normal child's cartoon.
Rugrats is a little bit ridiculous. Much more than Doug is. Rugrats, if you go back and watch it, it's actually pretty weird. But there's like weirder, like Magic School Bus is honestly probably more like Ren and Stimpy than those other ones, you know? Magic School Bus holds up weirdly well, too. Okay, when do you think Ren and Stimpy came out, Phil?
98.
What?
No, like
No.
91.
91. 98?
91?
What are you
Wait,
talking
I'm sorry.
about?
Did you say Ren and Stimpy or did you say SpongeBob?
Yes, Ren and Stimpy.
Okay, sorry. I would have guessed 91.
Okay. Yeah, SpongeBob came out in 99. So they're, you know,
Okay.
8 years apart. But yeah, SpongeBob, like we had all already, you know, I was in high school. We were all in high school. You were in, you know, AARP or whatever.
My little
And-
brother was into SpongeBob,
But I liked SpongeBob. I had a bunch of SpongeBob seasons on DVD when I was in college. Weirdly. But it's a great show. But some shows are good. Some shows are freaking. Did your kids ever watch Pingu? Or your kid?
No.
That is
I
a
don't
freaking
think so.
weird show. It's claymation, and I can't remember where it's from. It's kind of meant to be like it doesn't have any dialogue in it, and I think it's meant to be that way so they can just air it anywhere they want to, and
you
don't have to
like translate it. Yeah.
translate it. Oh, it's from Switzerland, but it is a weird old show.
Oh, here's another. Okay, so this is a weird Netflixy thing. One of the first shows that my kid was obsessed with, like, you know, when he could like use the remote on his own, like that early, was this freaking show called Masha and the Bear.
Oh,
Do you know that one, Cole?
Yeah.
Aaron, you know that show?
I'm familiar with it. I've never I don't think I've
How?
I've
Why?
watched it.
Wait, let me see.
I just know about things.
No, my kids never watched it.
Dude, Josiah was
I
freaking
also have
obsessed with it.
a 4-year-old niece.
Okay, that's true. And when I was working at John Adams Academy, there was a large contingency of Russian and Ukrainian students.
Mm-hmm.
And
Interesting.
somebody was asking me, about my son, and like, oh, was he, what kind of, what stuff does he like? Does he like this? Does he like this? And I go, no, he doesn't like Paw Patrol. He doesn't like any of the. He's like obsessed with Masha and the Bear right now, and all the Russian and Ukrainian kids like freaked out. They're like, oh my gosh, I love that cartoon. When I was a little kid, that was my favorite cartoon. Are you serious? Masha and the Bear? Really? Masha and the Bear? And I was like, yeah. And it's like, I think, I don't know why it is. There's not a lot of dialogue, but it's like, the little dialogue that there is was dubbed into English, but it is so bizarre. It is such a bizarre premise and show, and it is clearly not. It is not American, and
That's Russian.
yeah, and all the Russian Ukrainian kids like, oh, that was my favorite show when I was a kid. And then one of the girls,
That's awesome.
one of the girls during Christmas break went back there to visit family and came back and brought. She's like, "Hey, I got this for your son," and it was a bag. It was a bag of Masha and the Bear candy.
Oh, wow.
Dude. That's awesome.
And I was like, "Holy crap! Thank you so much. That's so awesome."
Was he freaking out?
He was kind of like, "Oh, cool," and I was like, "No, you don't understand."
You're like son of a.
She
This
brought
is a very thoughtful thing this teenager did for you. Teenagers don't do thoughtful things.
Yeah, exactly. She thought of you and me.
Yeah,
bought it, put it in her backpack, traveled across
halfway across the
planet.
world with it.
Yeah.
And then brought it to school and was like, "Here,
You will appreciate
that's
it.
very cool. That is very cool."
Yeah. Where I know I should know this, but where was your son born?
Clovis.
Roseville. Oh.
Okay.
No,
I thought
with,
so.
With our very, very close to the butthole of California.
Yes.
No. It's very close to
Luke Mundy,
Fresno.
Tim.
That's close.
Ballapant.
Fresno's pretty close.
To Modesto?
Yeah.
Is it?
I mean,
It's closer than any of the three of us
closer
are.
than yeah.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
No, it
I
is.
think I'm close to Modesto.
You're
Did
not
you
closer to
assume that I
Modesto
had-
than Fresno is to Modesto.
I think is Sacramento closer than Fresno
No.
to Modesto?
Did you assume that my adopted son was an
Yeah, it
import?
actually is. Sacramento looks like it is just barely
That's what
closer.
I was thinking. Like,
Modesto's like right in the middle, basically. It's like
yeah, it is like right in the middle.
But I'm not
Fresno is
Sacramento.
farther
I'm
south
Roseville.
than I.
It's like 60-40, which is actually even closer to Modesto.
I'm
than
further away
Sacramento.
than Sacramento.
Are you north of
Yeah,
Sacramento?
Roseville's
you are.
north.
Yes.
Okay, you want to have your mind blown?
Oh.
No.
Oh, I do.
Okay, let me see.
I'd like to.
91.7
Miles or kilometers?
miles.
Kilometers? Clicks?
Ooh, burn. Roseville to Modesto, 91.7 miles. Fresno to Modesto, 95.1 miles.
Dude, it's like directly right in the middle.
It's very close to the middle.
Directly in the middle. What does that remind you of?
Mm.
That's where your butthole is.
Oh, but then, like, let's see. Modesto
Unless you have, like,
to Clovis.
You think
Oh.
anyone's butthole's like not in the middle of their
103 miles to Clovis from Modesto,
Ha!
which is even farther, Phil. Not closer. It's even farther.
Oh,
It was 95. Now it's 103. So it's over 10 miles further than it is to Sacramento.
I believe
I mean, to Roseville.
the Mundys and the Bapalants also live in Clovis,
Yeah, I believe so as well.
and not in
Not Fresno proper.
Fres. Yes.
Fres maybe.
Ooh.
Man, yeah, there's a
Hey,
weird coffee shop over there.
Hey, viewers, have you noticed that Aaron's role on the podcast seems to be just like finding things that I say and then just spending lots of energy, like
Just like holding your
So
feet to the
much
fire.
energy.
undoing, correcting, fact checking.
How do you like
we gotta
that?
have fact checking, man. We need
Do you like that? Is that good for you?
facts to be checked. Yeah, is
Is
that
that good for you, Mr. Dillbaugh?
He doesn't do it at Cole. Just
Cole
me.
doesn't say a lot of wrong things.
He does do that to me.
Here's the difference. You always like fight it, which makes me want to dig in even
Yeah.
harder and really prove you wrong.
Like remember how we were arguing about the pronunciation of Kiev, and I was just like, well, the real thing that matters is that it's not Kiev,
Yeah. And I'd let it go.
instead of like, you know.
But you're right. I didn't even Google it. I just took your word for it. And I apologize to the viewers for not Googling it.
Wait, for not Googling Kiev or for
Yes,
not Googling?
Not Googling Kiev.
Well, so here's the thing. Okay, I got into this argument on TikTok with somebody.
Yes.
I've never even left a comment on TikTok.
I know it's a weird.
I
it's
know. Cole's very
So
good.
here's-
I like it.
No, here's the other weird thing. I'll watch stuff on Netflix, and if like something funny happens or something that I want to comment on, I'll like instinctively go to like try and look at the comments and see what people are saying about it, and then you can't, and it's like, oh, that's weird, because I watch a lot of YouTube and TikTok.
Oh, yeah.
But
Dude,
so
how
this-
awesome would that be if Netflix had a comment section?
that would be awful. Are you kidding me? Like, well,
that would be
TikTok has a
insane.
way of like the comments, the good comments make their way to the top, obviously. YouTube's kind of the same way. YouTube comments in the early days of YouTube commenting were just like an absolute cesspool, you know. But I feel like, and maybe it's just the type of videos you watch, I guess. But at any rate, so there was this commercial. Okay, so somebody, it's like a guy that works at a Hyundai dealership or something, had a video, and somebody tried to correct them and say like, it's not pronounced Hyundai, it's pronounced Hyundai or whatever. And so he replied to that comment with a video from a Super Bowl commercial. If you guys remember, Hyundai had a Super Bowl commercial.
Yeah, it rhymes with Sunday. That's
And in the commercial, they said it rhymes with Sunday. And so all these people are like arguing, well, this is, I'm Korean and it's pronounced, and it's like, that's how it's pronounced in Korean. And in English, it's pronounced differently.
Yeah.
And that's how words work. Because, and people are like, well, it's a Korean company. And it's like, okay, how about the capital of France? How do you say that? Like, you say Paris, right? But it's a French
Right.
city. You should say it Paris, because that's how it's said in French, you know? Like, but unless you're some kind of pretentious douchebag, you don't say that when you're speaking English. So like, so the Kiev thing, the only reason I heard that is because it was a person on TikTok who was in Ukraine saying this is how you pronounce it. But it's like, maybe in English it's pronounced slightly differently than it is in Ukrainian, you know?
Well, the thing that I saw was saying that the reason it's important is because Kiev is a Russian pronunciation.
Like that part is like not, that's the thing that matters.
Yeah, don't say it the Russian way.
And it's kind of the same thing with calling it the Ukraine, I think.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of harkens back to their Soviet days
Like
or
the
something
Yukon
like that.
or something. It's like a territory area.
Or like when people say what's the country in Africa that people always
The
weirdly say?
Netherlands. Oh,
No, they say like the
Ivory Coast.
No, it's like the Senegal or something. It's not Senegal,
really?
but
The Congo. You think
no,
Congo? Oh,
because
that's
that
DRC now.
Yeah, what is it? It's like one of those Coney 2012 countries.
Jeez.
I mean, just get lists of
The Sudan, that's what it is.
Oh, the Sudan, yeah.
Which is like, yeah, it's just Sudan. It's just a country. That
I
is
think
the
that's
one
because,
yeah.
like, is there a Sudan desert? Is that like a thing too?
Maybe. Well, and it's the same thing with Congo. Like, there's a Congo River, you know.
I guess not. It's the Nubian desert. Yeah, the Congo River.
But yeah,
It's
but at least that
people
is
call it
like
the United States of America, but it's
maybe if it used to be called the Sudan and now it's not, like,
yeah,
then that's fine to call it both because like that's what you're used to. But like
yeah.
something like Kiev, like there's like a history there that you should, you know, there's like a certain level of potentially insensitivity or something like that.
Yeah,
to pronounce it wrong.
It's tricky.
It's also tricky to rock a rhyme.
Tricky.
Yeah. To rock a rhyme.
That's right on time.
It's right on time.
You know, I met this little girly. Her hair was kind of curly.
Oh, okay.
To her
Was it
house
Annie?
and bust her out. Had to leave real early.
Wait, excuse me.
Yeah, what?
Huh?
I don't think you know what you just said.
Sorry. I do. I'm just quoting.
It's like,
You know what's lame? Like, this is how lame I am. You know why I know every word to that song? Is because of the video game SSX Tricky.
Oh, nice.
Do you remember that game?
I do vaguely. I
Like
remember 1080.
the
more.
idea of it.
There's this dude on YouTube who's doing a series of videos where he's beating every game on the N64.
Oh, nice. I bet that is going to be miserable in some.
Yeah, I'm like, a lot of these are terrible, but
Yeah.
but some are dope.
Like
yeah,
Superman
I watched
64.
the 1080 one just now. the
Oh,
other day.
nice.
It's pretty funny. Phil, do you have a game for this episode? Or
I do.
I was going to say, should I not be asking that in public?
Ask away, Aaron.
Would you like to play it now?
Yes.
All right. This speech is my recital. I think it's very vital.
To rock around that track one time. Here we go. Although I say I know all the words, all like until the last 5 or 10 years, I thought it said this beach is my recital, or maybe this beat is my recital.
Oh, you thought he was just like really enunciating. This beat is my recital.
This beat is my recital. I think it's very vital.
What is the line?
This speech.
This speech is my recital. Yeah.
Ah. This speech. Gotcha. Well, it is about that time
Well, here we go.
to bring forth the rhythm and the rhyme. It's
I
everyone's
before we start this
favorite.
game, I say something?
Yes.
May I? I want to apologize to you, Phil, for raking you over the coals, as it were.
Hold your feet to the fire for busting you out.
Yes, for for going to your house, busting you out, and leaving early. I apologize, and I want that apology to be public.
Phil is really
because my
sleazy.
crimes were public,
All he can say is please me.
and I know this is starting to sound like a bit, but it's not a bit. So that's all.
Okay. Well, apology not accepted. So here we go. Time for everyone's favorite pedal game. Guess that pedal review.
Oh, man.
Review.
Repairman, man.
This first review is by Seth Filippio.
Careful. How's that pronounced in its native language? Is it different than
This is a getting for the belly.
This is a 5-star review.
possibly Filipino?
Please leave it a message. Abatanzo.
I'm a gonna win. This is this review is titled Favorite Pedal Effect Pedal. I got this to go on a little mini board next to my Helix. It has exceeded my expectations, and I absolutely love this thing. This with the red remote and a Wampler tumless are my entire drive section, and it covers everything I need beautifully. It really is as versatile as everyone says it is. It sits awesome in the mix with a fairly flat EQ, but adding some brightness. It's also really touch sensitive and feels really good to play. With the flick of a switch, you have an awesome fuzz pedal. I kick the tumness in when I need a little mid boost to move forward in the mix. They are a match made in heaven. Okay, I gave away too much, but
It's the
go ahead.
JHS Superbolt.
No,
Is it Morning Glory?
no.
Is it
Is it a JHS pedal?
Yes,
The red remote gave that away to me.
Oh yeah.
I know.
Is
missed
it
that part.
the kilt?
Okay, here's the thing. What I thought I was reading was not the kilt, but I believe this review is for
That
the
review is
the
probably
kilt.
for the kilt. Yeah.
Oh,
That's why when he says that with the flick of the switch, it can be a
yeah,
nasty fuzz.
Nasty fuss.
And if you
Because
have-
that, like the highest gain setting on the kilt is like this insane gated fuzz.
it's not as nasty as the Rusty Fuss.
Rusty fuss.
Rusty
Aaron, when I hear that, I hear you.
The Rusty Fuss.
Yes, you doing your impression of that dude doing it. I don't hear the dude doing it. I
Yeah,
hear
yeah.
you doing the impression of the dude.
He's gone now.
He's no longer with us.
I mean, he's no longer with them. He's still
He was
alive.
never with us.
Yeah.
Mm. All right, the next review.
And if you're not with us, you're against us.
Exactly.
Uh-oh. The next review is a 2-star review.
Wait, what? Can I ask what you thought you were reading a review for?
The review was supposed to be for the crayon,
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's how a lot of
the
those.
crown.
Would they
There's
list they list them as like different colors, basically?
Yeah, or like sizes or whatever.
Yeah. Same item, but different options.
Yeah, which is annoying.
For this game, especially.
Is it actually sold by JHS?
Um,
It is annoying though because it does like it basically renders the reviews kind of useless.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Right.
guess unless like what you're reviewing is the seller or whatever,
Yeah, I guess.
which I guess is largely what you're doing. Like, let's be honest, who's going to buy a pedal based on an Amazon review? You know.
So right at the top of this, it says visit the JHS pedal store. So does that mean the seller is JHS?
Well, doesn't it say sold by
Where would I see that on here?
JHS on Amazon?
It's usually like under the title.
Yeah, it's like a link.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't say sold by. It says visit the JHS pedal store.
Oh. It might be the same thing. I think when brands like they have their own Amazon pages now. So that does sound like it's being sold directly from JHS on Amazon.
Visit the. Oh yeah, that's their seller name is visit the JHS pedal store.
That's a dumb sell.
No,
Sounds
it's
like
just
dumb.
it's just it's just because they have an Amazon store called the JHS
Yeah.
Pedal Store. So that's, I don't know why the link is the entire thing though. That's weird. But yeah, so that's saying because they have an actual store on Amazon for their pedals. And if you go there, it's actually kind of cool. It's got,
It's like a little website.
videos and it's basically like an actual
Dude, did you guys
storefront.
see that new JHS pedal? It actually seems pretty cool. It's like a DoD 250 thing. But it's like the 250 before the 250 existed.
Huh.
And I forget what it's called. It's called a preamp, Jhs Preamp Overdrive.
But I already have a 50/50.
Yeah.
So is it the one with the clover on it?
No, it's just like black and yellow.
Oh, that's the clover.
The one with the clover is
Black
called the
and
clover.
Yeah, I know.
It seems really cool, but they did like a limited edition one that is in a similar enclosure to the original, and the circuit board on the inside is like has like it's like shadow boxed in like another panel that like it looks really cool. It's hard to explain, but I sent you a picture of it yesterday, or I think.
I don't read everything you send me.
I know.
Aaron.
Anyway, it's just weird. JHS is just like a history brand now.
Yeah,
It's
which is
all
like
replicas.
I don't get how they got away with it.
I feel like
Like
sometimes they're working with the other brands, or like at least like get their blessing or something on it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because it seems like early on they were like, they were kind of like, what's the word? Like pretending that it wasn't that.
Well,
or like
part of what they were doing is like
suggest-
stealing ideas from other modders, not from the actual
that's
like.
true.
So I think
Yeah.
that's
Like
why,
open
because
source
now
stuff, and then
they're not even doing mods necessarily. They're just doing like, here's the actual pedal.
right. They're like,
So nobody's like mad that Boss is losing business because of it.
yeah,
I mean, Boss is a bad example because they're like in business with each other or whatever. But
yeah. This is so DoD, which he's from your neck of the woods, old DoD.
heck yeah, dude.
Apparently, he wanted it to be called Dodd, but then everyone just called it DoD. So he's
Except
like, well,
in-
I guess it's called
except in
DoD
Britain.
now.
They call it Dodd.
Oh, so the Brits got it right.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. They DoD and Digitech. So you still see like old.
You know how British people get mad. You still see
Yeah.
old what? You know how British people get mad when you say soccer. But
Yeah.
soccer is like a British term. They invented the term
Yeah.
soccer, so they need to just let it go.
You need to
Get
just
over it.
shut up.
Yeah,
Plus, like American English is closer to Old English than British English is.
yeah.
So they're like, well, we
True,
own the
true.
language, and it's like, well, not really, because we speak English too, and there's 10 times as many of us.
Yeah.
So Britain, you can suck a fat one.
It's like the Winnipeg Jets aren't really the Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah.
They're the Atlanta Thrashers.
The Atlanta Thrashers.
Yeah. So like we're the old Winnipeg Jets, and Britain is the new Winnipeg Jets. But they're like, we invented Winnipeg Jets, and we're like, well, yeah, but you're actually the Atlanta Thrashers.
Yeah. Exactly. Or like the new the
Or
Browns.
or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Where did the Browns come from somewhere?
No, the new franchise is a new
It's
franchise,
new,
I think.
right? The
Yeah.
Browns became the Ravens,
The Ravens, yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think about all this, Phil?
and the Oilers became the Titans, and then the
Yeah.
Texans came.
Yeah.
Weird.
You
Weird,
remember-
wild stuff.
The Titans? I feel like that's one of those movies that people probably like to hate on now. Like there's probably a bunch of reasons to hate it. And it's not like
It's a good movie.
accurate
I
and
hate it.
stuff, but I don't care what anyone
Why do
says.
you hate
that
it?
movie's freaking good. I don't know. Like
Phil
because it's
just
not
said he hates
accurate
it.
for one thing, because it's based on a true story, right?
Yeah.
But also like I'm sure there's I don't know. Like
I hate it.
seeing like
Why do you hate it?
oh wait, you hate it, Phil?
Yes.
Why? Just because it's about sports?
No.
It's not even
It
about
feels
sports.
like-
It's really about race, Phil.
Yeah. It feels like it's doing all the things with racism that just feel like it's like, hey, white people, let's pat ourselves on the back.
Yeah,
Is it because it's like, oh, this is how it used to be, but it's not like that anymore? Thank God.
Part of it
It's
is
like
like
we're
it's
so much better. That's part of it.
Yeah.
it's very much like a '90s lens of racism.
Very 90s.
And so
very
watching
90s.
watching it through the like 2020 lens of racism is very different. So yeah, we
Yeah,
just watched
it's
it
like-
recently, and it is very like, ugh.
It's pretty reductive, I suppose.
Yeah, it's very reductive.
The racists in the way the boys are racist in the beginning
Mm.
is so tame, and like it's like that's not even how
Yeah.
white people are racist today. Like
yeah.
it's like so polite.
Well, I don't know though, because when they're
Here's-
like,
you know what the
"We're
best
not
part of
gonna
that
play with
movie
those."
is in terms of like commentary on racism, is when they're going to the restaurant after winning a game or whatever, and Petey's like, "No, let's not go there," and the white kids are like, "No, it's cool. Like, we should just go. Like, it's cool." And then he's like, "No," and they're like, "Trust me, you're with us." And then they go in, and then they're like, the owners are like really racist towards Petey, and he's like, "See, I freaking told you."
Yeah. He's like, you can't erase all of the whatever just because you're cool.
Yeah. How do you feel about
Yeah,
that?
and then-
that part too.
No, that part's kind of
part's
good.
Yeah.
But you're
the
right
part
though,
where-
Phil.
The part where the white people get told, "Hey, you're dumb.
Yeah.
you don't get it." Like,
yeah.
sure, that's good, but when Denzel Washington gets them on a bus and drives them to Gettysburg to play
Oh,
football,
yeah. He's like, "Guys, stop being racist."
that is so. I believe the kids call it cringy.
Yeah.
That is so cringy.
Yeah.
I think liking that movie is a very chuggy thing to do.
Yes.
You know what it is? Liking that movie is a boomer thing to do.
Yeah, that's true.
It is. Well, it's very much the type of commentary that like you have nothing to feel bad about because there were some bad people way back then, but
Yeah.
you know, it's like very feel good.
And yes, it's very feel good. And the premise of the movie is like the goal is colorblindness,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Which was like that's
like a very outdated.
yes.
You know what else is weird that I just thought about that movie is, so in theory, Denzel's character is the hero of the story, right? But really, if you think about the way the movie's framed, the hero of the story is the white coach who allows the black coach to do that job. Which is
is like
pretty
it's
bad.
very kind of white saviory.
Yeah.
There's also an element of
It's white
like
umami.
magical Negroism
yeah.
to it that
Like the Key and Peele thing.
I don't remember the Key and Peele.
Yeah, where there's
One,
the two old black people who like basically, they're both essentially the like Morgan Freeman character.
Yeah.
And they end up like shooting each other with their magical spells and stuff. You haven't seen that one?
That's a good one.
So I don't remember. Fancy Aaron might remember who actually coined the phrase, but
So angry.
but I know Spike Lee like had a whole thing about the magical Negro, and
Yeah.
the 90s is like freaking full.
Yeah, like what's the big
and it's-
golf one?
Yeah, the Legend of Bagger
Bagger
Vance.
Bagger Vance. Yeah.
But you could say that Shawshank has that.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Like some.
I mean, it's
movies
Morgan
less-
Freeman a lot of times, right? Like, let's be
Yes.
honest.
Some movies it's less prevalent than others. It's less like prominent, but
Or obvious, yeah.
yeah, or you're right. But anytime it's like when the character is there to teach white people something, like that's their primary role, then it's just,
which is kind of like the entire movie. The Help is that right?
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And even like what's the NASA one?
Hidden Figures. I haven't seen it, but
And again, it's like it's hard when it's like, okay, but it's a true story.
right.
And they're celebrating.
It's like,
they're celebrating actual people who like overcame
Yeah.
a lot of adversity, right?
But then I think
Right,
the problem
and so-
there is not the story, but how it's being told and presented, and
how it's being
who's,
told.
Yeah.
Exactly.
benefiting.
So like, if you can, here's the thing, like have the guts to not have white people in the movie,
Right, at all.
or
yeah.
to like not have white stars in the movie, or not have
Yeah.
white, like have the white characters be
they
on
it's
the
not
side.
Don't
their
make them
story.
the center
Like,
of the story.
Don't
right.
filter the story through their perspective. Is
Right.
the thing, yeah, dude. I mean, I'm turned around. You sold me.
Yeah.
Are you gonna fact check me, Aaron?
No, I'm not.
Are you gonna fat check me, Aaron?
You know what movie's
what they
really
call
hard
it.
to watch is Django Unchained. And I don't think I want to watch it. I started it the other day, and I was like, I'm not going to watch this. It's rough.
Why?
Because it's kind of that. Like, it's like all that stuff boiled into one.
See,
And
the thing
I
about
have it's Tarantino is complicated, and like, just it's like all these white dudes that want to like say the N-word or whatever. I don't know. It's weird.
yeah. See, the thing is, he's like, he'll go in interviews and he'll like talk like openly about like how he's aware of the tropes, and then he's
Yeah.
like, I'm trying to mess with the tropes, but then at the
Yeah.
same point, it's like he writes himself a character where he says the N-word like a whole bunch of times.
Yeah,
and
it's like it's still a mullet.
why? Yes, yes.
It's the same way
Yes.
when like it's the same way that Always Sunny. I love Always Sunny, right?
Yeah.
But they kind of get away with this sometimes too, where I mean it's like any kind of, why did I just blank on the word? Satire,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Where like they're bad guys, right?
Yeah.
But the terrible jokes, or like if they say something homophobic, it's still played for laughs.
Right.
So like you're kind of like having your cake and eating it too a little bit, because like it's
Right.
commentary on the fact that they have problematic opinions, right? But
Yes.
Yeah.
they're still making a joke and getting laughs from it.
Well, they even kind of
This
talked
is-
about that on their podcast recently, and
Oh,
they were
really?
talking about Breaking Bad, and how like how much people hated the character of the wife of Skyler
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
that show,
Right.
and it's they're like, it's because Walter White's the hero of the show, so we want what he wants. Like his goals become our goals, and anything that gets in the way is bad. So like, even though she's the moral compass, she's like the only good person in that show, you hate her when you watch it because she gets in the way of like the hero getting what he wants,
Yeah.
or the journey,
Jeez.
you know.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of
She-
the same. Whenever the focus is the bad person, it's really difficult to present it in a way that you don't start rooting for them in some
Yeah,
way.
when the protagonist is the bad guy, essentially,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, Breaking Bad is like a great example of that. And it's frustrating because, well, I think it's smart how the last season of Breaking Bad, it becomes very clear that Walt is just
Mhm.
very evil.
Yeah.
And so I kind of like that they did that, because you
But in
had
the
to,
last
like-
episode, you still don't want him to get caught, you know?
exactly,
It's
but
tricky.
you still have to reconcile in your mind, like,
Yeah,
I've been
true.
rooting for this guy all along, and he
Yeah.
and in the last season, you're reminded of a lot of things that he did
Mhm.
that he
Yeah,
didn't even
yeah.
have to do,
Right.
that
Yeah.
he just did because he's a bad
He's the
person,
one who knocks,
you know?
yeah.
And so it's kind of it's
Yeah.
kind of troubling or whatever, but it's interesting to try and reconcile that in your mind.
But so yeah, the show. I mean, so Breaking Bad. I can't resist talking about that show.
That's all right.
In the beginning, the show is he's fumbling through these scenarios, these situations, right? He's like fumbling through it.
And he's also like, it's his last resort, right? Like it's not even immoral what he's doing necessarily.
No, the first person he kills is it was by accident, and it was self-defense. It was self-defense.
Yeah.
And then it was okay, but now I have to dispose of this body.
Right.
But then it like becomes like then it's murder to like
what's all
cover
about power?
up. But then it becomes in the middle. It starts to, and then towards the end, it starts to be about like, I bet I could do this.
Yeah.
It's all just his own power, right? Like they're, you know, you're kind of beat over the head with this whole idea of him missing out on, you know, his business partners basically screwing him and him regretting it. And like, oh, he kind of took the high road and has basically regretted it his entire life.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think there's something, and I remember reading some article about this, that I don't know if it's the first episode or it's one of the first episodes, he literally scratches out on a pad of paper the math of, okay, I've got cancer. I need this much money.
Here's the number, yeah.
Yeah, this much money to pay off the house.
Jesse reminds him of it. He's like, "Hey, you hit your number. We can get out of the game now."
Yeah.
You know?
That's yes. So he has a number, and then it's like he blows way past it.
Oh yeah.
And because then it at that point it's not about that anymore. It's about like how big can I go?
Doesn't Skyler even say that one time? He says like because he always says like I'm doing this for the family, and she says basically like stop saying that.
So at the very end,
it's a lie.
At the very end, she says, "Don't tell me you're doing it for us."
Yeah.
And he stops her and he's like, "No, I wasn't going to. I was going to tell you I'm doing it for myself. It's all about me."
Yeah. So rough.
Well, and it's interesting. Like, it's interesting because early on they talk about the history with his business partners, and they frame it in such a way that makes you think that they were the bad guys.
Mm.
But in reality, you end up finding out that like it was really his own pride that kept him out of that deal too.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so like because that's what makes him sympathetic. One of the main things that makes him this sympathetic character early on is like, oh, he's this poor high school science teacher, and but he really deserves to have a lot more. He deserves to be rich, and now he has cancer, and you know, and like he's a poor, like who would want to be you have to feel guilty just for the fact that he's a high school teacher, like, you know,
the worst of the worst.
That's enough to be sympathetic right there.
Well, speaking of, and I hate to get like all English nerd about it, but like the things that they did with like the tropes and form of Greek tragedy in that show is super, super impressive. And the way they tweaked it because of like modern American audiences, like, okay, well, we're not going to start him out as like a virtuous character. He's not a king,
right?
In the first episode, which is like that's the traditional like form, right?
He has really nowhere to fall from.
Yeah, and like Americans, like there's something. There's like a couple reasons why what's his name like did that on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Like instead of starting him out as like, oh, he could have been like the teacher of the year, right? No, he's like there were and I remember him saying like I specifically did it because like he had like very rational and like shrewd reasons for choosing like I want him to be completely pathetic. Like I want you to feel sorry for him before you feel anything else.
Yeah.
For Walter White.
Which you do. Like they beat you over the head with this. His brother's a total jerk.
Mm-hmm.
And he's this rich detective, which is also like kind of weird because like he works for the DEA. It's not like you make millions of dollars working for the DEA or whatever.
Well, I remember thinking, oh, dude, that guy's embezzling money. Like,
yeah.
Totally. But he's still framed as like, oh, he's the cool guy that everyone wants to be friends with.
Yes, he's got tons of friends. He's
a
super
jerk
macho.
about it.
Right. But dude, Hank becomes freaking rad. Like then they turn Hank over the course of
Hank's like one
the
of
show.
the actual. He's still like a jerk. The dialogue is it's unbearable with all the people that Hank works with. It's so terrible. And I don't know if they wrote it that way on purpose because that's how a lot of those people talk, or if it's just so dumb. It's like it was written by a 5th grader trying to come up with
cops
just
saying racist like jokes to each other.
No, not even racist jokes. It's just like the dumbest, just dumb stuff. Like nothing interesting or clever ever is said by any of those people. Anyways,
am I gonna read
Let's
two
do
more reviews?
Let's
or-
do
Yes.
one more, or at least one more. But before we do, I just want to congratulate us all on solving racism again.
guys,
again.
We did it.
I
again.
knew I couldn't you articulate it much better than I did, Phil, but watching Remember the Titans recently, it's a very different, like, I don't know. We have a very different understanding of racism now than we used to, that's for sure.
Us white people.
And the understanding we have now is the best one, and that's all we ever need.
Mhm.
So it's not going to go anywhere from here.
And now that we understand
Clear.
it, I mean, that's it. The work is
Yep.
done.
Yeah.
We have arrived.
Yeah. We understand it better than in the 90s. So
that's it.
we've
We're
clearly
good.
arrived.
Yep. Solved it.
That's true. Okay. This second review du jour is by DM. This is a 3-star review.
DM.
Damn.
DM.
Titled Okay Pedal Effect Pedal,
Okay.
but not for all.
Ooh.
United States, August 13th, 2020. The review is as follows. Disclaimer. First of all, I'm a clean player, jazz-oriented music. I just wanted a mild pedal effect. This pedal will do that, but so will many others at reasonable prices. I ended up with a used competitive brand pedal name, very clean and musical. The pedal name has the age feature that to me just adds various levels of dirt and warble. No thanks. Maybe okay for a metal player.
No thanks.
Also, this pedal is overpriced.
It's some kind of like tape delay,
Tape delay?
right?
It's like an El Capistan or something.
It is a tape delay.
Well, it has an age knob. I don't think El Cap has an age knob per se, does it?
It has like a similar type of, well,
But I don't think it's labeled
it's
age.
like-
I mean,
yeah.
Is it a
Tape
cattle and
delay.
bread pedal?
It is not.
Is it
Is
digital
it-
or? Well, I guess most
gotta
delays are
be.
digital.
Is it the Carbon Copy Deluxe?
Not digital. Not a tape delay.
Oh, duh. Tape delay. Is it like boutique?
You know, this is a pedal that it is not.
Okay.
This brand is
Interesting.
not. This is a pedal that we've seen on boards.
Is it the T-Rex one that's an actual tape? The replicator?
No.
Is T-Rex boutique?
I don't know. Like, they're the only pedal that comes to mind of theirs is the replicator.
I had one of their reverb pedals for.
I don't
a
pick.
minute.
I picture them as being like on par with like less than boutique, like Electro Harmonics or something like that. Even though
Yeah,
their
but like,
pedals are more
They're way
expensive than
smaller
that.
than that, though. I think,
but
they
it's
maybe
actual
are
literal
boutique.
tape.
Well, that
What is more
pedal
freaking
yeah.
boutique?
Oh yeah, the replicator is, but I'm saying like the rest of their pedals. Okay, so it's not a boutique brand at all. Is it like one of the big brands, or is it? It's well, DL4's a
Is it like a dual knob pedal? I mean, switch pedal?
single knob?
Single
switch.
knob?
Oh, sorry. I mean,
You were
Wait,
okay. You were
what
thinking
was
the
your
same
question?
thing I was thinking.
You asked the wrong question. Yeah.
Yeah, but you answered it the way I asked it. Okay, so single switch.
single foot switch.
Is it like
What is that freaking one with the blue? What's the one with the wings on it? The blue one. Why can't I think of it?
wings?
Just
Yes,
ask me if it's
the
blue.
Freaking.
Is it blue?
No.
No. Is it a
What is
a
that
roll?
one?
Is it a Boss pedal?
No.
Oh,
Is it that Digitech tape delay one?
No.
Is it
is it DoD?
No.
Is it Electro Harmonics?
No.
yeah. Is it TC Electronic?
No.
You said like we've seen it on board, so it's not like one of the huge companies?
It's a brand that you guys that we all know.
It's not like
because of their
Toyo
pedals?
or Mower or something.
No, it's not one of the knockoffs.
Are they known for their pedals?
Not primarily, no.
Oh. Is it
Is it Orange?
No.
no, what's
Fender?
the
Is it one of the Fender ones?
No.
what's the pedal I'm
Not
thinking
boutique.
of?
Not pedals. Tape delay.
Is it the Vapor Trail?
No.
Oh,
I know that's not
is
a
it
tape
one
delay,
of-
but
is it the from Eventide?
No.
oh, that's boutique. Eventide's boutique, isn't it?
I don't know.
I think they are.
I guess so. Yeah.
Is this a pedal we've heard of?
Yes.
Is Strymon boutique?
It's Strymon boutique.
It is.
Yeah, of course it
I
is.
don't
Like
know.
freaking Chiiiilllll and JHS and Wampler are boutique.
Are they? I mean, I guess. I
Aaron,
don't know.
I mean, based on this,
don't do this.
they always have
Yeah,
been
yeah,
for the
yeah,
purposes
yeah.
of this game.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just trying to like think in my head.
TC, totally.
'Cause I'm
like
still
the
trying
first
to
thing I
place
thought of was
T-Rex.
the
I'm
faux.
like, where does T-Rex fit in this?
Those
I'm
freaking
still stuck on
replicators
T-Rex.
are like hundreds of dollars too.
Yeah, that's like
They're
$800
like-
bucks. But there's like a lower or like more than 1,000, maybe even.
Yeah,
They also
So
have
it's
like
not
a
Chiiiilll.
junior one.
because Chiiiilllll has a couple. Isn't the Echoes kind of a well? It's not a tape delay, I guess,
No, that's
or is it?
it's like I guess maybe it is
It's like a repeater type thing.
magnetic tape echo. Okay, dang, what the heck company is this?
Is it? What are they primarily known for? Are they primarily known for amps,
No.
guitars?
No.
Are they primarily known for like software?
No.
Is it a Moog?
Hardware? Oh.
They're primarily known for picks.
Oh, it's a Dunlop.
Yeah.
Dunlop tape delay.
What? Are we just idiots?
Yeah.
It's a Dunlop pedal,
And I've seen this before.
and it is a tape delay. It's not an analog delay.
Oh, is
Is
it
the
one that's
Echoplex a tape
yeah,
delay?
that's what I was gonna say. Is it the Echoplex?
Echoplex, y'all.
Yeah, the Echoplex
dude.
is a tape delay.
Is it? The funny thing is, in my mind, like I couldn't even remember initially that the Echoplex is a Dunlop pedal. I just
Same.
picture it as the Echoplex,
yeah,
right?
Yeah. Yes.
Does it say Dunlop on it even?
No.
Yeah, that is weird that it's
I know
Dunlop.
I've said this to you guys. I like I don't know why, but I have like this weird soft spot for delays with tap tempo
with. Yeah.
And I did not know this one had a jack for tap tempo, and it makes me want it so bad.
So is it like
so dumb?
Is it like an MXR pedal originally? See, I'm thinking
it's got a couple more features
than who made the original.
Yeah, like Dunlop Echoplex. I guess that's what it is, but like because MXR and Dunlop owns MXR, right?
Yeah.
Oh.
Who made the original
Echoplex pedal? Well, was it even a pedal? The Echoplex
no,
is
like a tape delay.
Yeah.
It's $200.
It says it was designed by Mike Battle.
Oh, dude.
So it might have just been its own thing.
Yeah, maybe so.
And they bought the rights to it.
Yeah.
Because they have the name and the artwork.
That is a cool. I mean, you have an L cap though, right, Phil?
Yes, I do.
Like, obviously, this is not a good purchase, but you still want it.
It's
which
not.
Is like
it's irrational.
I kind of want it too. Relate to that.
I actually really want it now. Also, you can buy it's just like the Catalan bread. They have the Bell Epic, and so you can buy like the delay part, and then they sell the preamp part in a separate pedal.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You do see that on a lot of boards.
And I hear people say belly pox sometimes. And that's
like a belly pox.
Pretty weird.
Got the belly pox.
Yeah. That's what I call diarrhea. Oh man. A Taco Bell gave me the belly pox.
Man.
A pox on my belly.
I hear people talking about like how Taco Bell messes them up, and I just think they must have weak stomachs. I don't know.
Yeah, like
I agree.
Yeah. Well, the thing that messes me up is like dairy, right? So like pizza will mess me up way more than Taco Bell.
Yeah. It's like you can't eat
beans, like that's just fiber, right?
I know. It's weird. Same thing with Chipotle. I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah.
Dude, that was a good one. Do you want to do one more?
Yeah, let's do one more.
Okay. The last review du jour is by Michael E.
Mikey?
This is a 3-star review.
That Sheila E.'s brother?
Nice effect, but the volume drop makes this unusable.
Dang it.
It's the Boss Tremolo TR2.
It's a...
And then he says a very specific setting for this pedal. And then he says that on electric bass, while perhaps not intended for electric bass, if you don't mind the large volume drop upon activating, then this is overall a nice sounding pedal that pairs well preceding other effects. It can give a nice glassy type of effect when paired lightly before a fuss, then into a chorus. Bear in mind, this is a digital pedal, which suffers from that digital artifact type sound when using long pedal effect.
Long overdrives. Is it a delay again?
No.
Is it a reverb?
Yes.
A digital reverb that's not designed for bass, electric bass.
It's an RV6.
That gives very little information.
Yeah, that's like there's a volume drop with is it boutique?
No.
Is it big box? One of the big box brands? Big box brand?
I mean,
is it Boss?
Yeah. No.
Is it an Ibanez?
No.
Is it MXR? Is it the MXR reverb?
No.
The Dunlop?
No.
TC Electronic? Hall of Fame?
Yes.
It's the Hall of Fame too?
Hall of Fame too? You sure? You sure that's not why?
This technically is a review for the Hall of Fame 2
Mini?
by 4, but
Wait, what? Is that a thing?
Yeah.
yeah.
I thought they never. I didn't think they ever actually made that. I remember everyone asking for it
Well,
forever.
Aaron, come over here to Amazon and purchase one for $279.
The water's fine.
Man, the form factor of those X4 pedals is just so cumbersome.
They are freaking enormous, dude.
It's
Nothing-
large.
You
Like,
look at them and you're like, I
looking at
understand how big that
pictures
is, but you
cannot prepare you.
don't. I know.
It's like
It
the opposite
looks-
of some Chiiiilllll pedals that
Yeah.
look
Yeah,
really
right.
small.
It's like, why are the knobs so big and so far apart? I don't
Yeah,
understand.
dude. They're like bigger than amp knobs.
Yeah, they're like
Yeah.
an inch and a half wide.
They're so big, dude.
Is this
Man.
big? Is this the same size as the
The X4.
what's the Line 6 ones?
Oh,
Of the DL4?
Yeah, the DL4.
I think it might be bigger.
yeah. The DL4 is weird because it's all rounded too, so it kind of
Yeah, it's got a weird.
But that kind of was back when like pedals weren't really meant to go on a board. Like they don't have that excuse anymore. This pedal came out in like the last couple of years.
Yeah.
It's honestly probably the same dimensions as the DL4, and the DL4 is
It might
Monstrous.
be exactly about the same, yeah.
yeah. 'Cause just looking at the foot switches on it, yeah.
I gotta say, I do think the X4 delay is a good pedal, but it's just so big. It does sound good though. There's like some cool sounds in there.
I mean, we've talked
I
about
don't
this
know if-
before. It's honestly, I think TC Electronics is doing a lot of cool things, and then when they were acquired by Music Group, they just
Yeah. They kind of
have
stopped.
they're just not the priority anymore. It's just like
Yeah,
Behringer
yeah.
pedals now, which is honestly a shame. I mean, it's the same thing with Digitech getting, them getting acquired by Samsung. Like Digitech basically got shut down,
Oh yeah, because I mean, I'm sure guitar effects are just not profitable in the grand scheme of electronics.
Or like doing interesting guitar effects
Yeah,
aren't
yeah.
worth the investment. Like they
Right.
don't pay off quickly or whatever. I don't know.
They're more of a gamble. Like, yeah, is this
Yeah.
gonna catch or not? Yeah.
Totally. Well, and especially nowadays, like, I don't know. It's honest. Well, I guess people are going to keep coming out with pedals,
Yeah.
right? But whenever somebody announces a new pedal, it's like, really? Do we need that one? We couldn't just, we weren't okay with pedals we already had?
Oh, you did another tube screamer there? Nice.
Yeah. Like, even
Oh,
the
this
freaking,
is, but it's my take.
like
on
the
tube
fact that
screamer.
you're excited about that freaking 250 pedal from JHS. Like, really? We couldn't?
Yeah. Well, that's the
Like,
thing.
I know
is,
why,
like,
but-
he's like not. They're not doing new stuff, and it's like intentionally not new. So it's,
Yeah. It's like more interesting in some ways.
yeah, yeah. Well, it is kind of cool, like the idea of taking this circuit that is basically unobtainable for most people, and then saying, okay,
Yeah.
now you can buy it for $180 or whatever.
Totally. It's more like, I don't know. It's the same reason. It's weird to me that the KTR isn't more popular than it is, because it's like you would think
Yeah.
for the same reason. Some things like a clone,
I
it's
think
very
it's still hard
different.
to get though.
Yeah, I
Like,
guess
you can't
so.
get your hands on a KTR.
You just don't
easily.
see them on boards really, though.
Yeah.
But like you'd think that somebody would be way more interested in like this is the actual same circuit versus this is a clone of it, or
Right.
Is the KTR really expensive too?
I think it was like $279 maybe when they were making it,
Yeah, but that's like
which is not. Like,
there's clone
abnormally
clones that are
expensive.
more expensive, right?
Yeah.
Dude, what is all? If you just look for clone KTR, the first 3 Google shopping results are like inscrutable URLs for $40.
Oh my
Like,
gosh. Dude, there's a
Uh,
KTR listed on Reverb for $2,300.
jeez, it's a
Cool.
freaking KTR, dude. It's not even okay. Yeah, they were
Stupid.
selling on his site for $279, right?
Yeah. I just don't think you can get them. I don't think they're making them
Yeah.
anymore even.
I don't think so. That's weird, dude. Like no guitar pedal. I don't know. Whatever. Like people.
Is
have
he still
money,
doing
right?
that? Because for a while he was like making clones, like Centaur clones, and putting them on eBay.
Oh, just to try and drive the prices down.
Like
right?
recently, he was making like brand new one. Like he would just randomly throw a new one up on eBay and like sell it.
But wouldn't he do that partially to like drive the prices down?
I think that was the idea, but I think he was not doing it
Which
often
is like
enough
such a
to
weird
actually
like
work. And like, why do you care? I don't.
Yeah,
know.
like if anything, make new ones and sell them for as much as you can, right? Like
Or just make new
capitalism,
ones and be
baby.
like, okay, we're gonna re-release the Centaur and sell it for like $4.99.
Yeah,
You
and
would
we're gonna
sell
make
tons of them,
like
and it would drive the price down.
We're designing this from the ground up, but we're doing all like surface mount, like
Yeah,
or just like we're doing it as inexpensive as possible. Maybe not as, but you know what I'm saying. Like
yeah.
do it for under $300, but we're designing it and it's equivalent. It's the same circuit as the other one. It's
Yeah.
be a gold mine. I mean, it's basically what the MXR Timmy is, right? And
That's
I think
true.
those things are really popular.
Yeah, it would have to be. I mean, I would think it seems like it is.
For $130, tiny little pedal. It's a really cool color of blue.
Which is the same price he was selling them for, right? Like $129. That's what
Basically, like
the
less than
Timmy would
150. I
cost.
think they might have
Yeah.
been 140 or something.
It's wild.
Weird, wild stuff.
Wait, so what was the last
So
pedal?
wild.
It was the X4, the reverb.
Yeah.
Man, I'm being bad at this. I have lost my edge, I would say. I was way ahead of Cole for a while, and I think it's evening
I'm
out.
coming back, baby.
Yeah.
I got
Yep.
the Echoplex, didn't I?
You got all of them today.
Oh, I did?
I think so.
Booyah.
And last time, too. You got all of them like the last 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, dude, I'm...
It honestly
Getting better.
really makes me dislike this game.
This game was more fun
I
when
like it more
won.
when I do really good. It's more fun. Anyway,
You know what I do like, though?
what I'm still better than you at?
Is friendship. I'm actually not good at that.
Phil,
As
thank you
most of my
for the game.
fellow-
Everyone else, thanks for friendship. And also you. And also you. I just meant that
You butthole.
what I meant is thanks to everyone, including you, for friendship, but thanks only to you for the game.
No, that's not
that
what
is
you
what that
said.
is what I meant, though.
It's not what you meant or said.
What I meant is like, Phil, let me pull you aside for a second. Thank you for the game. Now everyone else come in. And thanks to all of you for friendship.
Thanks for friendship.
Thanks for friendship.
Right.